Hey everyone, and thank you for tuning in live today. Today is Sunday, February 12th, and it is 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Jason Leeser, and I will be your host for today. And thank you for joining the Skill Building Sunday Drawing Group here on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. If this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and in the chats, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real-world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on-demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. We also have a Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel. We have a Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which has 12 to 15 episodes playing at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can also find us in all of the major podcast directories, such as Apple and Spotify. Or you can just search for Reinventing the Tattoo and you'll find it all, except for the book. The book's out of print. So that's kind of a bummer, but you can still find us in all of the other major areas. But no matter where you are watching live or on demand, you can always get the latest and greatest, most up-to-date information, most up-to-date calendars at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. You can try it out for free. You have an option. You can pick one. We've got a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon. We've got free advice from Guy on goal setting for your unique goals. We also have an option of a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown, which is absolutely awesome, by the way. I highly recommend that. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full weekly event schedule with all of our daily broadcasts, as well as our special event broadcast schedule to let you in on all of the new upcoming special events that we have going on here at Reinventing the Tattoo. You can also find a direct link out to the Reinventing 24/7 channel, which is a lot like our Roku channel. It's got 13 different episodes playing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we also have a number of professional development courses from over 20 world-class tattoo artists, all available at reinventingthetattoo.com. Once again, if this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and in the chats, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. Maybe it's someone who's curious about getting one. Maybe it's someone who wants a behind the scenes look at what tattoo artists have to go through, in their daily lives. Who knows? But tag someone, let them know about us, and help us spread the word. We have a number of weekly events and a number of weekly broadcasts that we always encourage people to tune into, starting on Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time with me, Jason Leeser, for the Skill Building Sunday Drawing Group. This is followed on Mondays with 3 different shows starting at 9 a.m. with Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies. Following that, on Mondays at 5 p.m., we have Let's Talk About Feelings with Robbie Ripple, where we go through and discuss one of those lesser discussed topics in the tattoo world, right? How do we feel about things? Following that, Mondays at 9 p.m., we have a live drawing group with Sandy McAndrew, part of the Reinventing the Tattoo Network, and she is absolutely incredible. Highly recommend you tune in for that as well, but that is only available for people that subscribe to the Reinventing the Tattoo Evolution or Reinventing the Tattoo Canon courses. Following Mondays, on Tuesdays in the morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we have the Tuesday Feels Drawing Group with Ricardo Certivant, very good friend of mine, incredibly talented artist, one hell of a tattoo artist as well. Following that, on Thursdays at 6 p.m., we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast with Fawn Baker. Absolutely fantastic show. Highly recommend you tune in and check it out. Who knows? Maybe I'll pop in one of these days and, make things a little bit more interesting. Would also like to go through and take a second to thank some of the people that help make these shows possible, starting off with worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. As we know, living in this post-pandemic world where different tattoo events, conventions, and different types of seminars and stuff like that are constantly getting rescheduled, if you want the latest, most up-to-date information on tattoo events worldwide that might be coming to a town near you, or maybe it's a town you're planning on visiting, take a look at worldtattooevents.com for the most up-to-date comprehensive schedule for tattoo events worldwide. Next, we have tattoonow.com, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. They're constantly keeping everything up to date and upgraded. They're 100% competitive with any kind of CRM, mailing list, and scheduling software out there. If you are looking for the digital tools to help you go through and really help you reach that clientele that you really want to tattoo, tattoonow.com is the way to do it. They will help you optimize everything to help you get more clients through the door and more clients that you really want to tattoo that want to get work that you want to do. So why not take a look at tattoonow.com? Of course, this wouldn't be reinventing the tattoo without a very personal and professional thank you from the bottom of my heart to Guy Aitchison at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. Go to guyaitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia, some of his seminar DVDs, any number of different custom prints that he has available, and a whole lot more, all available at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to thank a few of our affiliates, people that we are connected to, starting off with the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. If you are a person that's looking to become a tattoo apprentice, or you're wondering what a tattoo apprenticeship might be like, take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. That will help you walk you through what you might be able to expect, what's going to be expected of you, and what it's kind of like behind the scenes to be an apprentice in today's world. As well, would like to give a quick shout out to the Fireside Tattoo Network with Jake Meeks. If you are already a tattoo artist and you are just looking for another source of information, take a look at the Fireside Tattoo Network. They have got tons of great interviews and great content all posted up on that network as well. Would also like to take a very special minute to thank TATCOM and the guys over at TATCOM, especially Aaron Williams, the mad scientist. TATCOM is pioneering the latest and greatest tattoo technology to help your tattoos be even better than what they are. If you're looking for the most up-to-date tools, the most efficient way to go through and execute these tattoos that you might be doing, take a look at TATCOM. These guys are literally changing the world with the science and technology that they're putting into their equipment. You cannot get better stuff than TATCOM, in my personal humble opinion. As always, we ask that you post positive reviews on the channel, help us get the word out. We're always looking for new people to join us, new people to be hosts. So if you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, or maybe you want to become a sponsor of our community, or maybe you're looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email management@reinventingthetattoo.com, and we will be happy to get back to you just as soon as we can. Now that our intro is done, we've got quite a number of people that are waiting to get in. Let me go through and admit everyone. Looks like we got Patrick Boothman back with us again today, all the way over from the UK. How's it going, Patrick? And let's see. Yes,
yeah, I'm with you.
Hey, how's it going, Patrick? And we got Bruno with us today. What's up, Bruno?
What's up, buddy? Patrick.
Hi, Bruno.
Jason.
How are you?
Pretty good.
Nice one. Good to hear.
Doing well, doing well. How are you guys?
I'm doing pretty well. Forgot to send the link to a friend of mine over in Scotland, so I'm going to do that real quick to see if they want to join. He's a very good friend of mine. I met him down at the Puerto Rico Tattoo Invitational a couple years ago, and kept in touch with him ever since. And he's got such a huge, crazy, big, bold style that it's absolutely fascinating to watch this guy work.
Of your father.
Cool.
Nice.
Sent. Awesome. Yeah, let's see what we've got going on. Doesn't look like it's going out to the Facebook, but that's okay. Let's see. This should be streaming out to everywhere. Yep, we should be good. Let's see. Don't know if it's actually connecting or not, but okay, cool. Yay. So how's everyone's week been?
It's been a good one.
Yeah, has it?
Some fun tattooing. Absolutely.
That's awesome, man. That's what I love to
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it was a good one. I had taken a little bit of a break from tattooing just to kind of take care of some things, some designs and stuff like that. And I really couldn't wait to get back. And
Right.
on yesterday's session, I got to use my Dan Cuban hybrid machine. And man, did I have fun. Like,
How do you like those Cubans?
Man, I love them more and more for sure. You know, it kind of brings me back to the days when I used to use a coil machine and I used to get like a really nice, you know, like clean, like solid line. You know what I mean? Like, not that rotaries can't do that, but you know, there's just something about that hit, you know, with the spring or whatever it is that just lays lines in a way that it's just really fun to tattoo, and then to see the finished product. It's just very satisfying because I don't necessarily get that feeling after doing line work with my rotary machines. And so
Really?
yeah, man, like I've been looking, you know, I've been looking and testing, you know, and I get decent results, but I don't think that there's anything like lining with, you know, either a well-tuned coil machine or a hybrid, you know, that it gets close to that, right? Because it's almost a coil machine, except it, you know, it's a hybrid. So
Do you
yeah,
like
man,
the
like
impact of it, or do you like just the
Mhm.
feeling of it in your hand, the way that it lays that line in?
So I mean, I think most importantly, the result that I get from
Okay.
using one of these machines. It's just exactly the solid result that I was used to for many years when I used to use coil machines. Um, and like I said, I've always been, you know, looking for that rotary machine that is gonna give me those type of lines, and I've been trying them all. And maybe it's the way I use them. But whenever I do use this hybrid machine, which is very much like a coil machine, I get exactly the result that I want, you know, especially when dealing with black lines, you know, doing black line work. So and you know, other than the results, you know, the feel of it and like the experience is, it's also very satisfying. You know, there's something satisfying about it. And I'm gonna look into potentially maybe getting another one,
Really?
mainly for line work, just line
See,
work. Yeah.
I've heard lots of good things about them.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's just always been one of those issues that it's like, if I'm getting a decent result now, why would I want to switch anything up?
Right.
You know, like I'm a firm believer that, yeah, to me, don't get me wrong, I love my coils. You know, I love them. I've been using them for a long, long time. But ever since I made that switch over to rotaries, man, it's like, to me, it was such a game changer because everything just seemed more effortless, right? Like I didn't have to try anymore. I didn't have a lot of those variables dealing with like rubber band tension or like needle bar bend or anything like that. To me, it simplified and streamlined the process to the point that it was just so much easier.
Right. Right. No, I feel you for sure. Like, I think that I was so much more stress free when I started to use a rotary machine. Like, in so many ways, man. It was crazy. I never realized how stressed I was actually until I used a rotary machine. Um, and like, man, tattooing was like just peaceful because I knew that either the machine was gonna work like it's supposed to, or it just wasn't gonna work. Versus the coil machine, you just never knew, you know, like at what point in the middle of the session you were gonna have to potentially tune up your coil machine, you know. It was a little stressful. But with that said, you know, I never really felt like I got the same kind of like, you know, laser lines, you know, that I was kind of used to getting, you know, with the coil machine. But I knew I didn't want to go back, you know, for the reasons that you're bringing up. But that's the beauty of these hybrids from Dan Cuban, that like there's a lot that you don't have to deal with that you did have to deal with the coil machine. You know, like the coil machine, there's so many more things that can loosen up and that you got to tighten up. And with these hybrids, because it's pretty much a rotary machine with a spring system type thing, you know, there's very little that you have to like be aware of, kind of thing, you know, almost like using a
Right.
rotary. Except, you know, you just want to make sure it has like, you know, good the rubber bands are tight enough, kind of thing. You know, that's about it. And
Now,
so there's a lot of peace of mind.
how is the impact on those though? Because I know, so I've been tattooed by someone that was using one before, and like the impact on it was, it was pretty rough, man. Like you felt every tiny
Hmm.
little inch of that machine, which
Right.
is, you know, obviously it's fine, it's cool. Um,
Was it done with a cartridge or
yes,
a
it
bar
was done
needle?
with a cartridge.
Oh, okay. I have something to say about that because I bought this one. This one is a Dan Cuban, meant to be used with both. I forgot the name right now, but meant to be used with both with cartridge and a long bar needle. And
Okay.
at first I wanted to, you know, play around with it with the cartridges because that's what I was already using. And I was like, you know, let me see if I can use it for shading too. And, you know, I definitely was not crazy about the impact that it had on the skin, you know, like uh with the cartridges. I wasn't in love with it with the cartridges, you know, and I knew that the impact wasn't the one that was desired. And so I actually put it down for a while. And then one day I took it out again to give it another shot, but this time with bar needles, you know,
Hmm.
and it's you know, I just have to make an adjustment on the machine and then it's set to be used that way. And that's when I started to get, you know, really good results. But before I got good results, you know, I had to test it a little bit, and I did find it to be a little too strong at first, but I just had to get used to it, you know. But what's cool about it is that you can use it at different intensities if you like flip the clip cord. When you
Okay.
put the red side up, and then it's like better for color packing and things like that, and big bold lines. And then when you put the red part of the clip cord down, it's ideal for smaller lines. So it has that like versatility, which is also cool. And so I had to figure that out, you know, before I got it to work exactly the way I wanted it to. And now that's where it's at. You know, I'm used to it. And the best thing about it, not only the result, but I get to move fast, man. You know, like with a rotary, I'll have to go over that line maybe sometimes, you know, 2 to 3 times sometimes for a perfect line. With a rotary, at least the way that I use the machine, you know, that's what it takes. And with this machine, you know, it's pretty much one shot. you know? And so it really lets me like move along and have a good chunk of time to shade it in, color it in, and, you know, potentially finish the piece.
So essentially what I'm hearing you say is that it's helping you become more efficient
Yeah.
and to create a better product in a faster period of time.
Yes. Yeah, man.
Interesting. Well, isn't that the
Yeah.
ultimate goal of a lot of things? To take away a lot of those
Yeah.
variables, to go through and really kind of just focus on the artwork itself.
Exactly. And it highlights the fact that, you know, man, it's so important that you got like, if you have one machine or that you could be really talented. And, you know, at the end of the day, you're going to get a decent result. But then if you have like the right tool, like well tuned or whatever, man, like the differences can be so huge. And sometimes we don't even know that we don't have the right tool, you know, that.
Well, and I think that ultimately is what it ends up coming down to is there are so many amazing tools and amazing things out there in this day and age that it's, unless you actually have the kind of funds that it takes to go through and really just buy whatever you can to play around with it and to try it out and to figure it out. Or if you work with someone that's got a whole bunch of different stuff that, you know, doesn't really care if you try certain things out. There are so many amazing tools and machines and stuff like that out there in this day and age that it's hard to really find what works best for you and what, you know, really is the best option for your style, your hand speed, for everything that you have going on and the way that you like to do things. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I have always been an advocate of being able to go through and being able to pick up almost any machine out there and say, okay, give me a couple minutes to get used to this and adjust to this, and then I'm off and running, right? Because to me, what it takes is just being able to vary my hand speed, understanding the feel, understanding how that skin is going to react underneath that impact. How is that going to affect different things? You know, for me, I've always been the kind of advocate that sits back and says, okay, well, to me, it doesn't necessarily matter the machine that I'm using. It's all in the way that I'm using it, you know, but there is definitely a difference between efficiency, knowing that this machine running this way with this kind of thing is going to get the job done the first time a lot faster, a lot more accurate. I'm going to have a lot less issues with it. You know, that's efficiency. And only once you've reached a certain level can you really sit back and be able to make that kind of a determination. You know, like, yeah, I can use any machine out there, but just because I can use it doesn't mean it's going to be efficient. Doesn't mean that it's going to be a preference, because it's going to take me exponentially longer if I use X over Y. You know what I mean? So, but that all takes time and experience and understanding of the equipment, you know, and that's something that does happen overnight.
Absolutely. It does it.
I did want to say real quick, though, for anyone that might be watching that is an American football fan, go Birds. Today is the Super Bowl, so people are going to be getting a little crazy today, especially if we win or lose. I think there's going to be a lot of chaos in Philadelphia. So if you live and or work in the Philadelphia area, please be safe tonight. There are going to be a lot of very intoxicated people out tonight, and I do not want to see anything happen to any tattooer friends of mine. If you live and or work in the Philadelphia area, please be safe, use common sense. You know, if it's a bad situation, get out of there. You know, don't contribute to the chaos, just enjoy it. You know, regardless of whether we win or lose, we had an excellent season. There's no sense in going off the deep end. I have to say that because people in Philadelphia are known to get absolutely crazy when it comes down to our sports. Like it's pretty nuts. If you look at any videos on YouTube from the last time the Eagles won the Super Bowl, it gets absolutely crazy. And a lot of it's because people tend to have too much to drink and they get a little wild, but yeah. So just wanted to make sure everyone got the message. Be safe out there. I don't want anything to happen to anyone.
Yep.
That, and I don't have bail money this year, so I'm not going to be able to bail you out if you get arrested. Sorry. If this was last year, we would have been fine, but my credit card bills from the holidays, still paying those things off. But got any fun, exciting projects coming up, Bruno?
Yeah, I'm gonna be finishing up with a dragon design today for tomorrow. An old friend that will be around he lives in Peru. So I'm gonna see how much I can get done tomorrow. It's gonna be a color dragon, half sleeve kind of size.
Are you going with a European dragon, or is it going to be more Asian inspired?
No, definitely Asian inspired.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. I'll be pulling out that Dan Cuban for sure. And I have some like floral pieces coming up. I get pretty excited about pretty much all the projects I work on. I have some animal portraits coming up. Those are a lot of fun for me. I really been doing them often recently, and I realize I really enjoy them. So that's gonna be fun. How about you?
I think
Oh,
that's
I think
awesome.
Patrick's having some problems with connecting.
Patrick, that's no good. I am having a problem connecting to Zoom via website. Do you have a link that I can post in the Zoom app? Yes, I will send that to you in just a second.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. There you go. Send. So Mike Cole just made a comment on the YouTube channel. What event in the tattoo world would be considered our Super Bowl? Having been to I like to call it more of like the World Cup, only because there are incredible artists from all around the world that, if you're looking at the Super Bowl is very United States. It's like a national championship, kind of like English Premier League championship. If you're talking worldwide, like something even bigger than the Super Bowl, I would say take a look at, it used to be the London Tattoo Convention, hosted by Mickey Violenti. And it was the absolute top 2% of tattooers in the world. Guaranteed. Everyone was there. If you can think of someone that was a big name in the tattoo industry, someone that has really, really excelled in what it is they do. People like Nico Hurtado, Steve Butcher, Shige, Orient Ching, I mean, so many different people that are just world renowned for everything that they do. Mike Rubendahl was there, James Tex, Anthony Tex, Clint Danroth, Steve Moore, all of these, Philip Liu, all of these guys have been and or constantly invited to go to the London show. However, as of 2020, the London show is no longer going. The London show is no longer what it used to be because, unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, It financially just could not be put on anymore. However, Mickey Violenti, the mastermind and absolutely awesome person who put on the London Tattoo Convention, did start up a second convention over in Frankfurt, Germany, called Gods of Ink. Gods of Ink is literally the London Convention 2.0. Everyone will be there this year. It's going to be absolutely incredible. James Tex will be there with Steve Moore. Shige will be there again. Philip Blue will be there. A number of different artists from the US will be over there. My buddy Phibbs will be there. I mean, just it's an all-star lineup. Go take a look. Gods of Ink. It's over in Frankfurt, Germany, and it is literally the Super Bowl and the World Cup put together. And it is absolutely incredible, the amount of talent that's all together in one place at one time. So excellent question, by the way.
Their Instagram story looks amazing, doesn't it? For the Gods of Ink.
It's absolutely incredible. Trust me, if I could, I would be going this year. I don't think that's really going to work out with some of my summer travel plans. Even though when I was down in Puerto Rico talking to my friend Phibbs about it, he's like, dude, you're going, right? You're going, right? Like, you're going to be there, right? Like, hinting that like this is not going to be something that I want to miss. And I was like, dude, this is the first I'm hearing about it. Let me take a look at a few things. I might be able to make it. If I do, it's only going to be for like a couple of days. He's like, dude, you want to be there. Trust me, you want to be there. He always keeps me in the loop with like all the latest and best shows going on, which is awesome. But just looking at the lineup for Gods of Ink is like incredible. Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, man, the best of the best. My buddy Stefano's gonna be there too.
Mm-hmm. Stefano's going to be there. I mean, it's literally a
Stefano
who's
Conte.
who in the tattoo industry. There is not a single person on there that is even mediocre at what they do. Literally, it's the creme de la creme of every style. That's one thing that I won't ever forget, and it's one of the best things that I ever did in my life. I took the chance. I flew out to London a couple years ago just to go and attend the London show and walk around and talk to people. And it was an absolutely life-changing experience. And I can't thank everyone that was there. I mean, getting to meet some of my idols in the industry was just, and getting to actually talk to them and sit down and pick their brains about different things and watch them work. You know, pulling up a chair and sitting down and watching someone like James Tex knock out like half of a guy's torso. And I think it was like 6 hours start to finish in full color was just a mind-blowing experience. You know, watching people work on full back pieces for 3 days straight. We're seeing a 6-on-6 person collaborative back piece tattoo being done. That was like, well, number one, it made me realize I would never want to be in that kind of a position, because having 6 people work on one person's back is just a world of craziness that I can't even begin to fathom. I mean, no one really even had room to move. Like, when your elbows are squished in as far as you can go and you don't even have room to breathe, let alone stop to turn around to dip, it gets to be a very tricky situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I've worked on a back piece with just one other person, and it was, it was already tricky, with just one other person on the other side working on a different part. Especially for line work type thing, I felt like it was tricky business. But yeah, with 6 people, that's
Yeah, I can't even begin to imagine that.
Yeah, because not only do you hope that the other artists are doing their part, to like keep from, you know, getting in your way, but also the actual client that's getting tattooed by multiple people, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can only imagine. Now, I don't know this for a fact. I have my assumptions, but I try not to live my life based on assumptions. Um, but I can only imagine that there was some type of painkiller involved in that, because that dude literally did not move a single muscle for the 4 hours that it took for those 6 artists to complete a back piece. And when you think about it, that's an incredible amount of work to have done in a very, very, very short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about how many different artists are working in one area on a human body, it almost kind of makes sense that they were able to accomplish that in such a period of time, right? Because with 6 artists, you can cover a lot of ground very, 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 very quickly, right? So to be able to complete start to finish a full back piece in about 4 hours, I can see it. You know, I can
Right.
only imagine that it wasn't very pleasant for the person getting tattooed, but
Yeah,
I
I
can
don't think
imagine.
pleasant would be the word.
Yeah, pleasant would not, I don't believe that would be in the vocabulary of the person getting that tattoo done.
Yeah.
But it was an incredible feat. And you always see stuff like that at the London show or the Frankfurt show, Gods of Ink. Check it out. Definitely not one you want to miss.
Yeah.
I know in the US, as far as United States shows go, I know that the Philadelphia show is one of the biggest in the country. I don't, I mean, as much as it's big as far as volume, there are definitely other shows that are out there that draw a higher caliber of crowd or a higher caliber of artist. Different
Mm-hmm.
shows like the Golden State Expo, the Empire State Expo, the Hell City, to name a
Mm-hmm.
few, just a few of them. These are shows that are the Austin Invitational. These are some of the creme de la creme shows in the US that if you were looking for something to compare to the Super Bowl in the US, that's exactly where I would be looking. And those are the shows I would be looking to attend. If you're looking for shows to work at, then number one, I would network heavily because a lot of those guys and a lot of those shows are very, very invitation only. And it takes quite a bit to be able to get into a show, even like Hell City, let alone one that you have to be personally invited to by the person throwing it. So I would definitely get out there and I would network and I would meet people and I would see what connections you can make to different artists, because all of that is going to add up to, you know, maybe one day you meet the right people who introduce you to the right people. And next thing you know, you get the personalized invitation to the Austin show, which is actually gearing up to be absolutely incredible this year. Highly recommend if you live in that area or you get the chance to attend that show. That invitational show is amazing. And its lineup so far is just absolutely phenomenal. So highly recommend you take a look at that show and check it out. Hell City always has an incredible lineup. I was actually considering going to that one this year just to do some podcasting. I don't think that's really going to work out quite so well. I do know that we will be joined live by Gabe Ripley from the Hell City Tattoo Convention this year. So that should be an interesting time. He's going to give us a little bit of a walkthrough to show us what we're all missing out on, since, you know, we'll be able to make it. So yeah, it should be a great time. You know, maybe next year I'll have the opportunity to go out there and work at the show. But we will see what happens. Now, Bruno, do you do any traveling? Do you attend a lot of shows or go to a lot of conventions or anything like that?
Um, you know, if there were more like good conventions here in South Florida, like you know, I don't mean to offend anyone um at all, but like you know, I just there really isn't that many you know conventions in general, at least in like my area.
Okay.
I would find it important, especially now with the studio, you know, to make it to as many of them as possible. Um, but since there aren't many, I haven't really been doing uh, conventions lately. But the last one that I was in was Hell City, which was an amazing experience. It was my first time,
Yeah, I was
and
very jealous of you for that.
man, I wish you could have been there.
Yeah.
Um, it was great, man. It's a great convention. You know, it's really well organized, and there's a lot of talent. That
Oh, I can
not
only
nothing
begin to
but great
imagine.
talent. Yeah, and yeah, man, it was a lot of fun. And I'll be going to this next one, so I'm really looking forward to that. I would love to be a little bit more active with conventions, but since I have my hands a little bit full right now with the studio, so I think that maybe hopefully next year it'll be a little bit easier for me to be a little bit more active and make it to more
Absolutely.
conventions. But I think they're
Well,
fun. I think they're a lot of fun.
well, if you ever need a list of shows to go to and work at, or maybe any shows that you needed a booth buddy for, by all means, hit me up. Let me know. I would
Absolutely.
say, let's start heading out and hitting some international shows. I know that there were a few international artists that, through talking to a couple of different convention promoters, they were trying to get out to the US for a few shows. However, I know that there are certain vaccination restrictions currently in place in the United States that aren't necessarily favorable, for lack of a better term, which kind of stinks because there are a lot of really great European artists that I would love to be able to get out to come and work at some shows.
Right.
But sometimes it ends up becoming one of those situations and one of those issues where it's like, okay, maybe this isn't such a good idea to invite these guys, because if they get stuck at customs, it's game over.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar right now with some of those restrictions, but yeah, it
yeah,
sucks.
it's so being and living in the US, the majority of people in the US are vaccinated, which is great. It's a personal choice. I highly, respect that. Certain people don't necessarily really want to go that route, and that's fine. That's a personal choice, but it does have certain implications when you're looking at things on a more international stage, where if you don't have that in the country that you're going to has some type of a vaccination requirement, and you are not currently vaccinated, then they can literally take you, turn you right around, and send you right back home.
Mm. It's
And
rough.
that is not good, because if you're paying for a hotel, airfare, and all that stuff, and now you get denied entry into the country, no bueno.
No.
So hopefully those restrictions don't last too much longer. From what I understand, a lot of them should be getting eased over the next few months, but you never really quite know in this day and age.
Mhm.
So,
How
who
about you,
knows?
Jason?
I think there's something going through Congress now, which I don't know how long things take in the US. If it's anything like the UK, it'll take a very, very long time. But they are looking at lifting restrictions for well, certainly tourists that are unvaccinated traveling to the US. So yeah, like you say, there's definitely things moving forward.
which is amazing. Because I'd love to get you out here, Patrick.
I'd love to
Really
come
would.
out. Yeah, well, you know, it is such a shame. You know, there you go. Hopefully it'll all
Yeah.
change soon.
Well, we can hope, and we can hope that things happen at a speedy pace. You know, whether they do or not is a different story, but you never really quite know.
You getting some good conventions over there, Patrick?
Well, I'm trying to think. There's the local one to us is the Bristol Tattoo Convention, and that's very good. That's not until July, so that's a while off. But I was going to ask, actually, I'm doing my first convention in August, and so yeah, ordinarily I do quite large, complicated tribal pieces, so they don't actually travel that well, you know, for conventions, because, you know, well, the way I do it anyway. So I was going to say, what advice? Oh yeah, and so someone in the shop has said, you know, sort of take someone along so that you've got you're definitely going to have someone to tattoo. So if it's my first convention, do you recommend either taking someone along or just doing a load of small flash and turning up? Or yeah, what are your guys' experience?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, seriously. You can't go wrong with bringing someone that I call them a ringer, right? Someone that you can be like, cool, sit down, let's work on you. However, when you do that, you know, don't get me wrong, if they're willing to travel and pay and all that stuff, awesome, great, do it. That way it's pretty much guaranteed income and you get to show off what you're working on. If you're going there with the expectation and you don't have anyone lined up to go with you, my best personal recommendation is actually get a whole bunch of smaller, like palm-sized designs together. Get a whole bunch of those together and then put those out with, you know, set pricing on them, and just say, hey, listen, this is all stuff that I really want to do. You know, if it's a bit outside your budget, let me know. Maybe we can strike a deal. But this is all stuff that I would really like to do while I'm here. And people love that kind of stuff, man. They love that because it's right there. It's right in front of their face. And they don't really have to really turn around and ask you for different things and be like, oh, well, do you have anything like this? Do you have anything like that? And it's like, here's a whole bunch of stuff I really want to do. Based on that, you can tell whether or not, you know, the style of work that I do is up your alley. So I say do both. If you plan on going there with a whole bunch of smaller flash ideas, that's totally fine. But I would say, just based on how long it personally takes me to set up and execute tattoos, I try not to plan to do anything more than maybe 10 tattoos over the weekend. You know, as far as packing supplies and stuff like that goes, I always estimate on that. So I'll bring, you know, maybe 4 or 5 tight 3s, couple of 5-liners, couple of tight 7s, couple of tight 9s, maybe a few 11s, you know, depending on the piece that I'm doing. And I just kind of go based on that. I try not to overpack because I've done that before and it just takes up way too much room. So don't overpack. Trust me, that's not a good thing.
You can always buy stuff from there's usually a supply guys, you know, like at the convention anyway. So
well, there might not be.
Oh,
Okay. It's in a part of the UK called Cornwall, which is beautiful, but it is pretty undeveloped. You know, it's a nice sort of touristy part of the world, and in the summer it gets extremely busy, but the rest of the year it's yeah, there's not a great
Not
deal there.
not quite as busy.
It's not gonna have a tattoo suppliers, no.
Got it.
But yeah, so that's my first one, so looking forward to that.
I bet. They're fun, man.
Yeah, it's, to me, there's nothing better than going to work at a convention or a show,
Okay.
because you're literally surrounded by a whole bunch of other people that do exactly what you do,
Mhm.
Get it? Yeah.
you know, and it's that kind of camaraderie and that kind of, you know,
Mhm.
just, for lack of a better term, it's just, it's that connection to being around a whole bunch of other people that might do things a
Yeah.
little bit differently than you do.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's totally fine. We're all tattooers. We all do tattoos, but some of us do them in a different way that can help us expand our mind.
Right. Yeah.
And it bond. There's like bonding that takes place too. You know, when you go through these
Absolutely.
experiences with other, artists and like-minded people, and it's like this natural, organic type bonding that takes place. You know, and it's
Awesome.
it's kind of nice.
And do you, so on a weekend tattooing, it's going to be like the Saturday and the Sunday. Would you tattoo both days, or would you say, I don't know, tattoo the Saturday and then like sort of party on the Sunday, or?
I always save my partying until the absolute end.
Okay.
If I go out at all, it's almost always on Sundays, but that's also because I'm very strict with my regimen. I've
Right.
I've tattooed hungover before, and I do
Ooh.
not enjoy it, and I do
No.
not do good work when I do that. And
Yeah.
you know, when you're out at conventions and you're around other tattoo artists, you're there. You're not just there representing yourself. You're there
Mhm.
representing the studio you work for. You're representing the area of the world that you come from. You're
Yeah.
representing your personal brand, which is a big thing for me. So
Yeah.
I'm very strict with that. You know, I try not to go out and make a fool out of myself the first night, because then that's all people talk about the whole time, and that's
Yeah.
not fun.
No, I mean I'm not into partying a great deal anyway, so it's not a problem for me. But
I would
yeah.
say take advantage of all the networking you can, though. So if you know that there's a group of people going out, by all means, go out with them. You know, maybe don't go quite as hard as they might go, but go out
Right.
with them, you know,
Yeah.
network with them, pick their brains while they're out there. Be like, oh, I saw you working on this. You know, what were some of the little tricks that maybe you used, you know, so that I can help further my own career and build some skills with certain things that maybe, you know, I don't know. For me,
Yeah.
it's a big learning experience every time I'm out
Mhm.
with other artists. So, I mean, that's my own 2 cents, though.
That's
Different
much
people have different
appreciated.
takes on things, and that's totally fine. I respect that. But for me, that's kind of why I go out and I do what I do.
Mhm.
And that's why I like to travel as much, because I'm constantly looking for something more to learn. I'm constantly looking for that next little bit of advice that's going to help put me ahead of other people. You know,
Mhm.
whether it's, you know, have a whole bunch of tattoos that you've done on your phone. Go through and ask them to do a quick little portfolio critique to see if there's something that you really need to be working on or focusing on over other
Okay.
things.
Yeah.
Little things like that can make an absolute world of difference, as far as, you know, just helping you progress to that next level. You know, and
Mhm.
if you have these guys in one area, ask them every question you can think of. You know, because that's ultimately going to make you a better artist.
Mhm.
Granted, that's my 2 cents.
Well, thank you. Much appreciated. So earlier on the call, on the Zoom call, I was having problems linking to the audio, and I heard, Bruno, you were talking about a machine that was particularly favorable. And did I get it right? It was a Dan Kubin.
Yeah. Yes.
Was it the one that's just cartridge or the needle one?
This particular one is for both. Like it has the option for there's like a little screw adjustment that you do, and it goes from being compatible to cartridges to being compatible with long bar needle. What's it called?
Is it? It's not
Hold
the
on.
side cranker, is it?
No, man, I always forget, but I think I might be able to get it for you right now. Let me see.
Yeah, his machines pack quite a punch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm using a Numa 4 now, and they're so
Yeah.
good. Really, really enjoy those. And I'm constantly thinking, oh, maybe I should get the Kubin. But I don't know. I'm into the Numa brand like so much, and the pen style, that the idea of like messing around with like rubber bands and stuff like that is just a bit, I don't know. I'm yeah,
Mhm.
I'm uncertain about it.
I think it's called the Sidewinder. It's one of the many different Sidewinders
Right. Okay.
that he has. No, for sure. I mean, I think that you can manage to do everything with a rotary machine. Like that's what I've been using all this time, really, until I've recently started to use the hybrid, the Dan Cuban. But for sure, it's undeniable that I'm definitely moving. It could be because of the way that I tattoo, but I'm definitely moving way more efficiently along.
Okay.
And getting the line work. Um, you know, the finish of the line work the way I like it, and also like moving along pretty quickly, and so that really makes a huge difference. That is worth the trouble because
Yeah.
like it is easier and more convenient for sure. Personally, this is my personal opinion, to use just a rotary. You don't have to bother with too many things. You hold it like a fat pen.
Mm-hmm.
It's great, but the difference that the other machine's been making lately makes all that trouble like totally worth it. And then there's just something about it, man, like to be able to, for me, right? Because I haven't been able to get the result that I wanted with rotaries in general. I get a decent result for sure. It's been working, but not like the type that I can get with these machines. And so there's like this additional excitement that I feel now, like every time I know I'm going to use it. It's
Right.
like,
Okay.
yeah, I just know that I'll have the power to do the things that I want to do with that machine. It's kind of an interesting feelings, but yeah, man, like it's worth the trouble. I like it. I think it might be worth trying out.
Yeah. Everyone that I speak to that has one is like totally sold on them.
Hmm. Yeah, and using a bar needle for sure is what I
Right. Okay.
recommend. Mhm.
Yeah, see, I don't know. There's something about having everything contained, being able to switch everything out super efficiently, super quickly. To me, it's just something that it's hard for me to get away from. I like the efficiency of being able to go through and utilize a a cartridge and saying, you know what, this isn't the exact size that I need for this line weight that I want to do. I can sculpt it, but if I've got a lot of lines that are at that same line weight and consistency, sometimes it just makes more sense to pop that one out, grab a different cartridge that's the exact size that I need, and turn around and be like, okay, this is what I need to use. This is how it's going to work. And I can go through and zip through everything in a little bit of a faster pace.
Right.
That's just me though. Certain
I still
people
have my rotary next to me
yeah, well,
for sure.
and I doubt you're gonna get rid of having that right next to you for a little while.
No way. Yeah, I'm not exchanging it for sure. But yeah, I know for sure. That's the biggest thing about the rotary, right? Like you could just switch, from a fat line to a very thin line.
Right. Very, very quickly.
Very quickly.
And I think that's one of the only hesitations that I have about going back to anything on bar is that I want to have that kind of versatility. I want to be able to just turn around, switch things out, and keep rocking, But if I go back to on bar, I have to set up more machines. That takes more time, so it's not necessarily the direction that I personally would choose to go. But once again, that's just a very personal opinion about certain things.
Right. Yeah, like yesterday to do this black and gray floral piece that I did, the grand majority of the line work was like like a type 5 type of volume. And so like not too thin, not too thick. So that was the needle that I lined up on the hybrid. And so I would get all like the main lines, the silhouette lines with the hybrid, which was the grand majority. And then I would switch once I would finish a whole section doing all those lines, then I would switch to the Zion I was using. And I had like a really fine type 3 to do like some of the like intricacies within the flower. And then I also had, like a 15 Magnum to just kind of map out some of the shading that I had, incorporated into the stencil. And that's how I did it. And so for sure, like using the hybrid was key, but also in combination for sure with the rotary and what that provides, which is, what we love about rotaries, that versatility and that convenience. And so, yeah. And so that, yeah, just, like for sure, like it was in combination of the two machines, the fact that things went so well. Not just because of the one.
Sometimes it takes, trying different things out and, figuring out whether or not this is for you or whether you like this more or that more. Sometimes it's not one easy answer. Sometimes you're like, oh, well, I really like this for this one, but maybe it didn't work quite so well for this one, So sometimes it takes a little bit of experimenting. Sometimes it takes a little bit of playing around with it, seeing what you like it for and how it works. And, what you like to use it for is the big thing. Like
seeing how it healed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, if it's not going to heal right, then what's the sense in using it?
Exactly.
And that's why I was asking you, what have you noticed about, skin irritation? Has it been getting red at all? Has it been, what's the impact like? Because that's going to directly translate down to, how does it heal? Is your skin going to calm down so that you can see any potential holidays in it? Is the redness going to be able to go away so you can get a decent photo of it after it's done? or your gray is going to be coming out a lot faster with it. But if you're using it strictly for lining, then that's a little bit of a different story.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, like when I tried it out with the cartridges, I definitely wasn't, like pleasantly, I noticed that there was a little bit of a harsh impact. And, again, I didn't like test it out enough. Maybe I would have found a way, to be fair, for sure. But, I just didn't want to be testing it out, like when
Right.
it just
On
didn't.
a live person. Or...
Yeah, exactly. So I actually just, went back to what I was using at the time. And I had already heard from some friends that they, in particular, feel very strong about it because they tell me, man, like if I didn't use the hybrid to do the line work at conventions, I would never finish that piece. And I get what they're saying right now, but because of that, I was like, maybe I should give it a try. Give it another try, but this time with a long bar needle. It makes sense that it's probably going to work better than cartridges. And then when I used it with the long bar, definitely did not see the same kind of like unwanted impact that I had seen, right? But for sure, there is some like getting used to it first, because it can hit hard. It can hit hard, but you just have to like, very carefully find your way towards that ideal way to use it, right? With the voltage and the whole thing.
Okay, because I mean, I really enjoy the Numa, but and it works and it heals really nice for lines, but it's slow. Do you know what I mean? It's for lines. I do have to slow all the way down. I can't sort of speed up and get decent decent healing lines. So that would definitely be something I've been looking at, especially for, say, for instance, if I'm doing tribal and it's all of those lines, just like line after line after line after line. Yeah, and I can get them looking really nice, but it does make it slows things down, which ultimately sort of makes the tattoo cost more. Which anyway, yeah,
I
which isn't
agree.
bad for me, but
Right.
but it does sometimes put people off, when you're sort of saying, well, realistically we're looking at like 3 or 4 sessions, and you think, man, I know that it could be done quicker if I had a sort of quicker machine. But yeah, no, the side
Do you
one.
know what stroke it has, the machine?
Which one?
The one that you're using? Is
The
it like a
Numa?
4.0 or
Numa, it's a
3.5?
3.5.
Got it. They usually the 4.0s have like a better. I don't know if Newman has a version with a 4.0 stroke or 4 and up stroke, but those usually tend to like work a little bit better to do line work, even though the 3.5 will work too.
Yeah, no, it did. I used the 4.2 cam, and it did seem to work pretty well, but sometimes it didn't, like, the ink wasn't always getting in as like consistently. Sometimes with clients would come back and there'd be little bits where I don't know, the line was like inconsistent. Now it might be that I was hanging the needle out too much, and so the needle wasn't going back in and filling up with ink. Yeah, so I will try it again. But yeah, with a 3.5, the lines are just like really nice, and they heal very nicely. But
Yeah, you
the
just gotta slow
speed,
down a little bit.
yeah.
So that's always been my experience as well. I recently picked up the Soul Nova Unlimited. 3.5. And I have been absolutely in love with that machine for black and
Right.
gray. Like bar none, like that is my go-to daily driver right now for everything black and gray. Solid black tribal stuff, and some color stuff, especially if I want to do multiple passes, multiple layers, or if I'm trying to get some really good color blending going on. I'll switch over to that as opposed to my flux, my FK Irons flux, and it is just a dream come true. I think it's because it's got a shorter stroke length, so it's actually causing less immediate trauma, less redness, so the skin's calming down a bit faster. Don't get me wrong, I love it for all of that, and I like it for certain types of outlining, like if I'm sculpting or building up a line, I'll use it, but I'm not necessarily going to use it to push anything bigger. It's just not, it doesn't have that kind of impact that I like for bigger lines. So,
It'll be nice for color blending too.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure. Like for that finessey, smooth color blend, it'll tend to work better than a 4.0.
So Jason, what do you classify as? We said like the bigger lines. What's
bigger lines? Loose 11s. Really, really open, very spread 11s. 14s. Anything over like a 9, I classify as like a bigger line. Just because that's, to me, a big line. I mean, even open 9s it can do, but it's kind of a struggle sometimes. Sometimes I find myself really just sitting back and being like, I probably should just switch over to the other machine. I'm kind of in a groove right now, so I'm not really trying to mess with it too much. But it's like, oh, okay, that line didn't come out perfectly clear. Okay, cool. Let me switch over, and I might not want to. I might want to just continue on with that machine if I have to go back to smaller lines. But I don't know, it's different. For some bigger groupings, you do need a little bit of extra power. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. When you have more penetration points in the skin and you're trying to push a larger number of pins into the skin, you have one of two options that you can use, right? You can either alter your angle of approach so you can kick it back at a more extreme angle, which is actually going to cause less skin resistance, which will allow you to penetrate the skin easier. But if you're doing that, you're also utilizing less pins on the surface of the grouping, right? So you have to kind of be careful about that. So that's one option. The other option is get a machine that's got a bit more of a stroke length with a little bit more velocity to it. And that velocity in and of itself is going to allow that impact to push through that top layer of skin a little bit easier, regardless of that larger surface area that you have to penetrate. So these are just things that I've come across that have helped me. Hopefully, someone out there that's watching will be like, oh, that's a good idea. But those are just a couple of little tricks that I've come across. But it also depends. If I'm building a line and I've got a big 1/4 inch thick or 4 or 5 millimeter thick line that I'm trying to sculpt out and build out for like a full sleeve or a back piece, maybe I'm going to take my time with the 3.5 and I'm going to build it up, and I'm going to build it up slowly and sculpt it out so that it's 100% perfect, which at that point in time is almost like doing tribal, where you're going through and you're doing a double line and then filling in between. But often if I'm doing a line that big, instead of using a liner, I'm just going to grab something like a 5 mag or a 7 mag. And, I'll literally just color it in like it's tribal. And I'll just go straight to the mag and just color away. And because when you look at line, and this might be a little bit of a different way to approach things, when you're looking at line, all it really is a shape, right?
Yeah.
right? So if you're looking at line more along the lines of this is just a larger contour shape, it takes on a different dimension and it takes on a different type of characteristic, right? Because it goes through and you're no longer seeing it as, okay, this needs to be a clean single pass line. This
Yeah.
needs to be, you're now looking at it more as, okay, I need to develop and create this shape on the exterior of the design.
Mm-hmm.
But keep in mind, I'm talking lines that are unbelievably big where, maybe it's too big for even a loose 14. So you kind of have to do a double pass with it.
Yeah.
Or maybe you want like some of those like spiky little endpoints. Maybe you want it to have a bit more of a jagged kind of profile. Those are all different things that you kind of have to think a little bit more about. So just some food for thought.
So Bruno, does that the Cuban, that's good for bigger lines like 14s and
I'm sure it is. I haven't personally had the opportunity to use it for that.
Right.
The only thing that I have used it for so far has been with a Type 5. If I if and like, but I'm sure that, especially if I were to flip the clip cord and put the red side of the clip cord facing up, which I think is the negative side, then the machine would have more power and it would be more optimal for a bolder line. But I think that, all these years that I've been tattooing, whenever I've had a situation using the rotary machines to do bold lines, I've used their 8-round shader. Like I found an 8-round shader to be one of my best options to make a nice, fat, clean, bold line. And when I do that, I will most likely build up the line instead of like just like if I was using the Dan Cuban, I would just move right along like doing like we normally do lines. But
Yeah.
because I have to adjust with a rotary to use it, as best as I feel like it could be used, I've gotten the best results building up fat lines, and it takes a little bit longer, but I get the job done, and I don't run into that many situations with big fat bold lines, and so that's been okay for me. But if I would run into more situations where I had to do a lot of fat lines, then I would probably set up my hybrid machine, because then I would be able to move with it a lot quicker, like just like I do any other thin line. I would do those fat lines with the hybrid machine, so that would save me time. But since that's not the case for me, I haven't really felt the urge to the urgency, I mean, to use it for that. And so right now with the 8-round shaders, I'm all set using the rotary. The 4.0 seems to work better, the flux in this particular case, for me to use an 8-round shader and do those type of lines. It could be done with the 3.5, but it's easier to do it and more effective with the 4.0.
It's got that velocity to it, man. And I'm all about that velocity. When you've got that velocity coming down and just jamming it in and out real quick, boom, absolutely fantastic. Now, what stroke length does the I don't, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but do you know what stroke length that Dan Cuban has?
I don't think I do. But I can find out. I'm actually
I'd
not
be
at the studio
interested
right
to
now.
know.
Yeah, I'll find out for you, but I have no idea actually.
I mean, not if it puts you out, man. Like, because I know sitting down with like, a ruler or something like that, trying to figure out like even stroke length on a coil machine, right? Like sitting down being like, is this length? Maybe it's that. that long. Maybe it's like it's a little over this. Let me try a different ruler. Oh, well, now on this ruler, it's a little bit, less, so if it's going to put you out, man, don't even worry about it. It was just a curiosity of mine.
Yeah, no, I
What I've
actually
always
have no
found
idea.
is,
Uh-huh.
I don't get me wrong though. And this
Uh-huh.
is like one of the counterintuitive things that a lot of people maybe don't think about. I used to be able to pull the biggest, fattest, boldest lines you could ever imagine when I was using my Injecta with a
Mm-hmm.
3.25 cam, right? At which
Uh-huh.
seems counterproductive because like 3.25 like doesn't necessarily have the downward velocity or the downward force to really drive something super huge. But some of the best big lines I've ever created in my life were done with that.
Nice.
And I'm not sure if it was because of the motor in it or if it was because of something else, but that thing, man, it had so much power behind that motor, and the power band on it was incredible. You could run that
Which one
thing
was it
from
again?
the Injecta Flight Nano Elite.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I had the Blast Brass one, which was my
Mm-hmm.
baby, my daily driver for the longest time. And
Mm-hmm.
I still to this day will pull it out every now and then for certain things, but it was just absolutely incredible
Powerful.
for anything that I needed it for. The power band on it goes from 15 volts all the way down to I think like 6.5 or something like that. So you can really dial it in exactly where you need it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that fact about it. Granted, I never really ran it over like 8 or 9, but I know some people that would swear by it at like 11 and a half, 12, for like lining or smooth black and gray work or whatever. And I tried it there and it just wasn't necessarily for me.
Mm-hmm.
But, everyone's a little bit different. Everyone's got a little bit of
Yeah.
a different, hand speed. Everyone's got a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of a different feel as far as hand pressure or, what they like in certain things. So,
No doubt.
circling back to what I mentioned earlier, we all do the same thing, but we all do it in a little bit of a different way. And that's kind of what helps us determine our own unique style and our own unique preference.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. Everybody's got a different hand and, different way of applying pressure and different habits, that they started with, maybe, it's a muscle memory type thing, or just the way that you understand the process, is unique to you. So for sure, you want to be open to, just kind of um, finding what's best for you and not necessarily what the good word is out there, right? Sometimes what works for you is going to be unique to you. But having the right tool, though, it makes a huge difference.
Well, yeah,
Once you find the right tool, the one that works for you, it makes a real big, huge difference. And, it takes away all those like unpleasant trees of tattooing when things are not going, the way that you want them, right? There's nothing like just having a session where everything just works exactly like you were hoping it would. And then, it takes you to knock out the piece, you want to do. A good feeling. I feel like I had one of those sessions yesterday. It's
well, that's
definitely with a
awesome.
smile on my face. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think my headphones are gonna die.
Medusa.
Hey,
Medusa.
sorry I'm late. I actually this morning was the first time I actually got to catch up on sleep. So,
Sleep, what's that?
it's a very important thing that I know that you don't know what it is. We need to talk.
Yeah, that's wait, that's that period of time where like you don't do tattoo things, right?
Yes, it's the period of time where your body and your brain rest and rejuvenate so that you can keep doing tattoos. Well,
Oh, I should try that.
Some of us
Yeah.
mortals do.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
what I'm not doing right. I don't know. I'm full tilt all the time like that.
Take naps.
Take naps. Yeah. How's everybody doing?
Doing well. Doing well.
Doing
Just
well.
working on this this painting that I've been working on for a little while now, and hopefully I can get some more progress in on it.
It's looking good, man. Love that combination of like teals and lavenders in there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love the way that, so the tattoo itself actually turned out a little bit different as far as color scheme goes, which is fine. Because this was actually supposed to be a color study for the tattoo, but I
Mhm.
ended up getting a chance to work on the tattoo before I could finish the color study. So now I'm just kind of having fun with it. But it's, it's a little bit off. It's the teals that are in the actual tattoo itself have almost more of like that ectoplasmic kind of light greenish teal kind of awkward weird color that's like super vibrant, and it's really difficult to mimic that color.
Mhm.
So I'm just kind of going through and basically just playing around with this a little bit, trying to get a little bit more coverage done. I like the way that the glass kind of has that nice reflection to it, but just trying to add in some of those like weird, awkward, like if the glass is obscuring some of the pink crystals in the background, just trying to like get that accurate.
You're nailing it, man. It's a beauty.
I dig it. It's very good looking.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's getting there. I got a little bit more purple that I want to wash into the bottom of it. And then I need to go back through with some ochres and some umbers to really kind of get the skull to look the way that I want it to. In fact, maybe that's what I'll work on next, just to kind of finish that part up. Sepia.
Nice.
What you
Love the
working on,
sepia.
Medusa?
I am gessoing the background of a shadow box that I am making, based off of a prompt that Dusty Pitstick gave me. So you guys know of Dusty from Robbie and Dusty's Monday show. Hopefully, if you haven't seen it yet, you definitely should. Let's talk about feelings. I got to hang out with them after I hung out with Bruno in Florida, and Dusty always has really funny, punny drawing ideas. So I texted him and I was like, what should I draw? And he said, I'm going to give you 3 words. Here's your prompts. And it was a kite, hip hop, and flower. And that turned into a sketch on my plane ride home. And now I'm going to make a shadow box out of it. So I have made some flowers, painted some flowers and cut
Nice.
them out. And I already have some fake foliage laying around. This is real foliage. This is fake foliage. And I painted a little boombox. Cute little
That's
boombox.
badass.
And I origamied a kite. And so I'm going to put them all together in a shadow box. So yeah, that one little prompt for a sketch just kind of turned into a full-blown project. So right now I'm gessoing the background, and I'm trying to figure out what kind of colors I want the background to be to not
Contrast all those elements.
Yeah, so the flowers are like natural reds, almost like a poppy, almost, not really, maybe a globe mallow flower.
Mhm.
And then the boombox and the kite are
Boombox is
super
awesome.
thanks. And they're super neon. So
Mm.
I'm trying to figure out what kind of contrasting colors. So I'm thinking with all of these main color elements, a good contrast would be like,
Purple.
I was just gonna say indigo. But yeah, purple. So I'm thinking of making the background, which is the backboard of the thing, and it's got wet gesso on it, so I'm not touching it right now, is I'm going to start out with like a darker blue and kind of fade into purple tone, and then have maybe a peach at the bottom, more like a sky, like a
Mhm.
sunsetting sky, but without like the reds and oranges of a sunset, more of just peach colored haze, and then like purpley blues on the top. So we'll see how that goes. I have been also trying to film every step of it, and kind of make videos like that. It's really fun. But yeah, that's what I'm working on. What are y'all working on? Oh, and a commission. You can't really see it because of the screen, but it's mostly just a bunch of scribbles. I have been commissioned to do a band t-shirt for my friend's band, who is blowing up in the heavy metal scene, and I'm very impressed with them.
Awesome. What's the name of the band?
Blind Oath. And they only started their band like a year ago, but they're already playing shows with really big names and getting on bills for some pretty impressive festivals. And so I'm very proud of them. And they asked me, they're a bunch of friends of mine, and one of them asked me if I would be their go-to artist for all of their future merch and everything. And our trial business run is going to be this t-shirt design, which I'm already proud of. So I'm all like, yeah, I got this in the bag. I'm really happy
That's
with
awesome.
how even my scribbles are turning out. So yeah.
Congrats. That sounds awesome.
Thanks. Bruno, what are you working on?
I'm starting to put together a design for tomorrow, but earlier I was working on this figure drawing. I worked on my figure drawing early today.
Oh
Definitely
yeah.
spent a little bit more time than the normal because I was just chatting with Jason, but this is it.
So you told Jason about the figure drawing challenge?
No, not yet.
All right.
I know
Jason,
nothing about this.
perk your earballs up, because we're
Now
inviting you to join too now officially.
Yep, it's official. We're inviting you live. Now we're just holding each other accountable for doing at least like a 10-minute daily figure drawing practice. And like all you really need to spend is just 10 minutes. If you want to, you can like take it a little further and work on it some more, but just to have like a daily practice, of like just investing 10 minutes, which is always a possibility.
Yeah, you can find 10 minutes while waiting for your coffee to brew. We've been using quickposes.com.
Okay.
And I've been setting a timer on my phone, on my and on my iPad, depending on where I'm drawing and everything, for 10 minutes. I've only done 10-minute exercises so far. I haven't carried them on longer, but they've been working out really well. I've posted the last couple of ones that I did on Instagram. So like that's where I'm showing my practices. I like showing them to the public too, because it kind of adds on to the accountability. You know, like anytime I talk to another person, they're like, oh yeah, you were posting a bunch of sketches. Like, what were those for? And then I can introduce them to the whole concept. Or, you know, like, why'd you stop posting those sketches? And then I can admit that I fell off the wagon.
Yeah, and inevitably, you know, like the beauty of this practice is that even though it's just 10 minutes a day, like inevitably, if you do this for 30 days, like you're gonna see results, you know. And all it really took is just like 10 minutes a day. But yeah, I wasn't really saying much yet because, you know, I wanted to like remain consistent, you know, for at least like 10 days, you know, so that then I could be like, you know what, you know, like this is what we're doing. Join us.
Nah, you just wanted to get a head start. Yeah, like, yeah,
you know me too well.
Oh yeah, you're just starting this challenge. I've already got 10 done.
The thing is, the tricky thing about the 10-minute thing is that, man, like recently after 10 minutes, man, I really don't like what I see. Like Medusas have been coming out nice after 10 minutes.
I fucking
But
hate them.
like mine, I'm like, I can't show this. Like, no, I'm gonna just invest another few minutes. But you know, I know that the day is gonna come and I'm only gonna have 10 minutes to give, and that's what I'll do. But I've been having fun with them. I've been using the color erase pencil. I think it's a Prisma color erase, and those are fun.
I love those.
Yeah, I decided to start posting mine to hold myself accountable, and also to help myself kind of let go of my perfectionism. Because I'm not even gonna lie, like 5 minutes into these drawings and I fucking hate what I'm doing. Like, I do not like it. I think it looks like crap. And then you can like, and one of them I recorded and I watched myself in the video to see like what I'm doing without actually doing it. And I could tell where I started falling off and started just being like, I give up. I don't want to work on this anymore. How long till the 10 minutes is up? But I've only been doing 10 minutes because I want to keep that consistent. And my goal is on March 10th to go through and see what my improvement has been after like 30 days. So I'm trying to do 30 consecutive days and then we'll see what happens after that. And I'm really excited to see how I improve because it's inevitable. You will improve when you're doing the same thing over and over again every single day. You're gonna get better at it. It's like virtually impossible to get worse.
Exactly. Kyle was like a good example of that. You know, he took on that challenge.
His Stradiesel challenge. He
and
killed
like
it.
inevitably, you know, you saw the progress, and that's kind of what inspired me to, you know. Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, he's gonna end up absolutely crushing everything.
Yeah, Kyle B has a very bright future ahead of him. And Kyle, if you're listening to this, that's no reason to slack off and get cozy.
Exactly. Yeah, like my uncle would say, man, that was badass, but chill. Bájate. He said, bájate. Go back down. But yeah, he's killing it.
Yeah. I am probably after this phone call gonna do my 10-minute challenge and then get ready to go to work. I'm very excited about my project today, everybody.
What are you working on?
I'm gonna do a portrait of Bat Boy.
Oh, interesting.
From Weekly World News. I'm so excited.
That's fun.
Weekly World News.
in
Used to keep
black
me
and
so
gray.
entertained.
The only news that matters. Let's get real here. I mean, have you paid attention to the actual news in the last like 4 years or so? No, it's trash and it's depressing. Everything sucks. The world's ending. But weekly world news, we got Bat Boy.
Is
That's
it
all
in
you
color
need.
or black and gray?
Oh, black and gray. We're going classic.
Nice.
I honestly, I don't know what Bat Boy looks like in color.
Nobody
I
does.
don't think Bat Boy is in color.
Oh, so is that the bad boy from like the that magazine? The
Yeah,
National
Weekly World
Enquirer?
News.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay, yeah. Oh
Yeah.
shit, that's gonna be fucking awesome.
Yeah, I'm
Nice.
so excited. Yeah, my client has been coming to me religiously since I started every
Mhm.
month. I love him. And he brought his wife and she comes in to get tattoos. I tattooed their 18-year-old son. They have a 14-year-old son who is basically all just like, yeah, when I turn 18, Medusa's going to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm all like, yes, I love this family so much. Yeah, after we finished our last project, he texted me like a long list of all the things that he wanted to get tattooed, and they're all such fun ideas. But as soon as I said Bat Boy, I saw Bat Boy, I was like, we're doing Bat Boy. We're doing Bat Boy immediately. I'm so excited. Everything's going very well art-wise on this end.
That's good.
Yeah.
Great.
I joined late, so I am not sure actually if there was a topic today.
Today we were discussing machines, different stroke lengths, techniques, lining and things that we like for lining and things that we don't like for lining, and efficiency and equipment. Lots of different stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I am on my couch right now. I have laid out a bunch of envelopes and 3 different machines that I have been slacking off of getting back to get repaired. 2 of them dropped. And one of them just seems to be bogged down. I don't think it made the travel very well.
Which machines?
My Numas got dropped.
Ooh.
Yeah. They were sitting on my Mayo tray in my gun case, and someone happened to walk by. Their hip brushed the gun case. It fell to the floor, and so did the 2 machines. And my FK Irons Spectra Zion. Get down from there, Jonesy. Sorry. Yeah, good boy. And that one, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I think it might have maybe gotten a little jumbled around during the travel because it seems to be bogged down now. And I have one more backup machine, but I hate it. So this is lighting a fire up under my ass to be like, oh, remember that time I talked to Carson and told him I was going to send him my machines? I need to actually do that. So yeah, I actually had a long discussion with Robbie and Dusty when I was down in Florida about rotary pens being pretty fragile.
Yeah.
And like my Valhalla Axis, oh fuck, I gotta send that one back too. The motor's just kind of has lost its umph. It never got dropped or anything. I used it every day for like 9 months straight, and it was perfect. And then suddenly it just kind of, or not suddenly, like gradually the motor just kind of felt like it was like losing its power. But I hear that the Axis, that's kind of a thing that happens.
So little background about that company, the guy who actually engineers, makes and builds those machines, like the guy that actually, like, he puts them together for like prototyping and all that stuff. He's actually, believe it or not, a former watchmaker. So he's got everything down to such tight tolerances. It's ridiculous. That means if there is anything off at all in any way, or if things heat up too much, or if anything like that happens, there's a chance that something might get thrown off. So just to like put that on your radar, that it might not be anything that you've done. It might just be, you know, the machine itself. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, most machine builders and most machine companies are really, really, really good about making sure that their products are good, solid, stable, consistent, and that nothing is going to happen to them. Every now and then you run into an issue with certain companies, which I shall not name just for legal purposes, that, you know, like to outsource a lot of their repairs to places that will try to extort you for charges. And those are definitely companies that I may or may not ever buy from ever again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty embarrassed that I have to send so many machines out all at once, but all of this stuff happened over the course of a long time, and it's not that I just suddenly broke all of my machines. One or two different things happened, like with the Numas, that was just an accident, you know. And with the Axis, I know that's just normal wear and tear, because I use that for every tattoo. In a walk-in shop where I was doing anywhere from like 7 to 11 tattoos a day. So like that motor, I got a lot out of that motor. But I just have been slacking on being on top of all of my stuff. And it wasn't until I was actually stuck with my backup that I'm all like, oh man, I hate my backup. I better actually like work on everything else. Oh, Bruno and I built one of my national machines.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. We're down there.
When are you planning on coming out to visit Fast Alley again?
July. The end of July. So 27th, 28th, 29th, and I think there's an art show at Lost and Found Tattoo on the 30th. And we're gonna party.
Yes, we will.
I will bring my machines. The entire time that Bruno and I were working on the other machine, I kept being like, we gotta call Jason. Jason, help us.
Yeah. I love tinkering with coil machines and messing with them.
Yeah.
It's nostalgic for me, because like I spent so long trying to understand and learn about coils and like trying to figure them out and be like, okay, well, what happens if I do this? And what happens if I do that? And what about this? And what about that? That like I ended up, you know, reaching out to a whole bunch of people that really knew way more than I did. I ended up spending about a year with a guy who knew the ins, outs, ups, downs, and everything about coils. Spent about a year working with him, learning about these machines, building frames from scratch, you know, winding coils with them, you know, sitting down and talking about like spring theory and spring tension and return force and all types of other stuff, and just really getting into the nitty gritty of it. And so for me, working on coil machines is like, it's nostalgic. It really is. In fact, I have to reach out to Caroline to find out what she has going on and if she wants me to come back out for another machine seminar this spring.
Which Caroline?
Ann Evans.
I love her. I love her so much.
Yeah, good people.
Evans, Caroline
she had
Evans
me out
is
last year to do a machine seminar with 2 of her apprentices, where we sat down. They had the build it yourself kits for more coarse irons, which are great machines, by the way, but they were encountering some issues and couldn't pinpoint what was going on with them. And I was like, don't worry, I'll come out there and we'll figure it out.
How far
And,
are you from Evan's shop? Sorry.
Maybe an hour.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, I'm not far at all.
Radiant Energy is the name of her shop, right?
Yep.
And was Jilly one of the
Yep.
oh my god, I love Jilly.
Yeah, Jilly's good people.
She's a
Um,
sweet good girl. I met her
she
at
really is.
Paradise. Where I met you.
Yep.
But yeah, that's really awesome that you got to go out there and help with that. I definitely want to come visit you and learn machine stuff. I know I've said that a million times, but I actually very much mean it.
Well, I am always around. I am always available. I will make the time.
You are not always around. I believe that you are half of the time traveling between conventions.
Well, believe it or not, I don't have that many lined up this year.
Really?
In fact, I specifically made it a point to take a little bit of a break from working as many shows as I usually do, just to like take some time and, time for myself, time for, different things that I got going on that I want to put more into a priority perspective. So I'm actually calming down on some of the shows that I usually work. I may or may not be heading back out to Resurrection Island in the fall. That still has yet to be determined. I might do it, but I can't make any guarantees on it, just based on finances and time constraints and stuff like that. I was also trying to work at the Paris show this year, but if that falls through, I may actually head out to Scotland to go and visit a very good friend of mine named Mikkel, who I met down in Puerto Rico a couple years ago. So that may be happening, but if that happens, that's not going to be happening till the fall. But I'm actually really cutting down on a lot of the shows that I'm doing this year.
I bet that'll be really good for you to take some time away from traveling and focus more on the not traveling part of tattooing. Because I mean, you've been out and about a lot. I think this whole last year, like, there's been times where I've texted you and be like, I'm on the road, I'll get back to you, blah, blah, blah. And that's happened so many times.
Yeah.
And it's always
Well,
good to take some time to recenter yourself. And, I mean, I bet your
absolutely.
cat misses you all the time.
Yeah, it was getting to the point where, at one point in time, I was actually turning around and it was like, okay, cool. I've got about a week in between here and here where I'll be back. And then, okay, you know what? I'll be gone for a week here. And then I'm doing this show here. And then I've got this going on here. I may have some time here and here. Does that work? And I hated being that way. Don't
I think
get me
I
wrong.
was in one of those conversations with you.
Exactly. Don't get me wrong. I love to travel. I learn so much every time I go anywhere new that it's really just enlightening. It's something that I really enjoy doing. It's something that I really love to do. And it's something that I try to do as often as I can. But, there is a downside to it. And that's when you start to neglect your bread and butter clientele, the people that really help you pay your bills, the people that are your home base, the people that really go through and help support you when times are tough, that are like, oh, dude, oh, you're struggling, right? Cool. Guess what? Book me down for a full sleeve. I want to come in, and we'll get rocking on that.
Yeah,
those
you
are the
can't- you
people that
can't
you
flick-
need to keep around,
Gotta take care of them.
Exactly. So, I did a little bit of like, just self-analysis, which I'm very big on, and sat back and I was like, okay, you know what? I need to calm down with this. I need to kind of reset, recenter, take a little bit more time to really focus on my home clientele, and really make sure that they're doing okay and that I haven't lost any of them, because it was getting to the point where it was like, okay, maybe I can get you in here and here. Does that work? I shouldn't have to do that. My schedule was just too tight. So it was like, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of time off from traveling as much and just play it by ear. Maybe I'll schedule something for the fall if I can make it. If the Paris show goes on again this year, I'd love to go to work at that one. That's been a dream of mine for many, many years. So we'll see if that ends up happening. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I'm okay with that. But I would love it if that happened. But we'll see. We'll see. I try not to plan super far in advance anymore. Just because you never know what can happen in life. So I've just been taking a little bit of time.
That's really, really good and really smart. I am just getting my first taste of traveling this year. Many, many big thanks to you, Jason.
I do what I
Actually,
can.
I have to, I know I've already thanked you enough. I don't think enough, but you probably are tired of hearing it.
I
But
very much am.
I want to give a big credit to where I'm at now is really a lot to you. You've definitely done wonders for me. You've helped me out a lot and you've introduced me to great people. You've helped me figure out traveling and everything. And I got 1 week out of every month until July booked for something. And I think the reason that I was able to do that is because I had the experience of traveling with you and the encouragement and inspirations that I get from you.
Well, I'm one of those people where, I take a bigger and more broad perspective on a lot of things. And anytime I travel, especially, there's going to be situations that come up where some people will turn around and be like, oh, well, fuck this. This is terrible. Like this whole thing is not working out the way that I wanted it to. And it's like, yeah, but that's okay. Things don't always have to go the way that you want them to. You just kind of have to roll with it sometimes. That's just the nature of the beast. But it's like, I'm one of those people where everything is a learning experience, everything. And it doesn't, big, small, doesn't matter. It's a learning experience as long as you have that kind of a perspective on it.
Yeah, that's an awesome, it's a good way to keep yourself humble too.
Absolutely.
Taking everything as a learning experience and not taking things for granted or putting too much expectations.
Well, and that's, I think, the major issue, right? A lot of people go into a lot of things and they've got certain expectations for it. And it's like, but if you have expectations, you're going to be missing certain things, right? You have to go into a lot of these situations, especially when you travel, with no expectations. And as long as you go into it with no expectations, you'll be fine, because it doesn't matter what happens at that point. You're like, oh, this happened. Cool. I'll roll with it. But when you go in and you've got certain expectations for certain things to happen in a certain way, or just certain things to happen in general, that's when a lot of people tend to get discouraged. And that's when a lot of people kind of mentally shut themselves down and they say, well, it just wasn't a good time. And it's like, but why? Why? Didn't you learn at least one thing? Like, there had to have been at least one thing that you picked up along the way, whether it's something you like, something you don't like, something about tattooing, something about fine art, something about the environment, something about the people. I can go through, I remember working at a show out in Europe, and I went into it with expectations, and it was the biggest mistake I ever made. And, I ended up taking a huge loss. But the thing that really blew my mind was that when I came back to the States and I sat down and I really thought about everything that had transpired while I was there, I was like, that was an awesome show. It was absolutely amazing. Like, how could this have been in anything other than awesome?
I am really, really glad that you're mentioning this. It reminds me of when I went to Puerto Rico with you. I had specifically, I mean, that was a very nerve-wracking thing for me. My imposter syndrome was through the roof. I definitely struggled with feeling like I didn't deserve to be there. You were an amazing, amazing friend along the way. But also, like, when I went there, I had originally planned the trip not to even tattoo at all. My expectations were not zero expectations, but to just go have fun, meet some cool people, and hang out with my good friend Jason. And I kept those
And look at what ended
expectations.
up happening. You ended up working at a very exclusive show, absolutely crushing every tattoo that came about, and
I met some
yeah,
fucking cool people.
absolutely.
Not just tattooists, but my clients were incredible. Like, there was a woman I tattooed who told me, like, her and her husband got matching tattoos. They've been together for 20 years, and she told me some incredible stories. Like, I had to take a moment in that tattoo to catch my breath. I was so, like, touched. Like, she gave birth in the car on the way to the hospital in the passenger seat, and she was telling me about, like, their relationship and their life. And I met so many incredible people that have just beautiful stories, not just tattooers. And, like, that was so much more than what I expected, because I, like, kept my expectations low. Just gonna have fun, hang out at the booth.
And that's the way
In
that you should
general.
approach every show. It really is. When you
Most
start
things in
to,
life, really.
yeah, true. Very true. But, that all circles back to a personal philosophy I have about, you should never work a show unless you're willing to completely and totally take a loss on it. Because at the end of the day, you're probably going to get more out of it from the experience than you will out of it from the money that you stand to make there. So go into it. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about anything else. Look at the experience that you're going to be having. And that's ultimately what's going to matter, right? Like, I've got a friend of mine that I met at the Dublin, Ireland show, who's from Kuala Lumpur, right? So now I've got that kind of a contact, and we keep in touch all the time. And I have watched this guy grow and absolutely start 100% crushing everything, and it's just absolutely amazing to see where he was and where he's at now. And, picking his brain, picking up, Instagram, sending him a message, being like, hey, dude, like, just curious, like, I saw the last piece you did, like, trying to work on a few things like that. Any advice you can give me? And having him send me a message back, like walking me through step by step, every tiny itty bitty little thing. And I would not have had that if I had just chalked it up to, like, oh, well, I didn't make any money in Dublin. Everyone there wanted something that, I didn't want to do. And, I just didn't fit in at all. And it's like, you got to get over that. You have to. There's going to be times and there's going to be shows where you walk away making pretty much nothing. And that's okay, because what you're going to gain from those experiences is going to be worth so much more in the long run if you go into it with the idea of, you know what, that's okay, because now I know. And I know for the future, and I know for next time. So I know the next time I go to work at that show, I know what to be prepared for, and I know what to expect. And I know that if I go into it with this kind of a mentality, that I can absolutely crush everything that comes across. I know that if I work at this show over here, I know the kind of stuff that they're going to want me to do while I'm there. You know, I know that this area likes a lot more neo-trad, or this area likes a lot more like biomechy stuff, or this area is more about, you know, fine line black and gray work. But you don't know unless you go. You know, you won't have any idea of what to expect unless you actually put yourself in that kind of a situation.
I want to circle back to what you said about not signing up for shows unless you are okay with taking a total loss. I think that oh my God, your hand tattoo looks so good.
This guy,
Yeah, this little thing. Yeah, that's fucking, oh God, that's so sick. I've been thinking about that, by the way. Oh yeah, but what I was gonna say is same for like guest spots and really any traveling too. Like if you're not okay with the taking a total loss and not having any expectations and just making sure that everything's going to be a learning experience, then don't go.
Yeah.
Like stay home with your reliable clients instead. Like
and
if
you know
you're
what?
not
That's
ready to
okay.
take that plunge, it's you've got clients at
Certain
home.
people don't want to travel and they don't like to, and that's okay. That's totally fine. You don't have to. What I've found though in my experiences is that by not traveling, by not working shows with, by not networking with other artists and learning new stuff, by not doing that stuff, it's just going to hinder you in the long run.
I've been invited to guest spot somewhere coming up really soon, not super soon actually. But I have to consider my finances because I don't think for this upcoming guest spot that I can actually handle a loss if I don't make any money. So that is actually something I'm dealing with right now. It's like, should I take this opportunity or should I like do it a different time? Because right now, like if I don't end up making my money back on the thing, like can I afford that loss right now? So what you're saying about shows, like I'm thinking about a guest spot.
Absolutely.
And so I also need to figure out how to cordially say to the person, hey, I can't afford this trip right now without disappointing them.
Well, you know what? Just say, listen, right now is not a very good time. Some unexpected things have come up. You know, I would still very much like to take you up on this. It's just, I can't do it right at this moment, or I can't do it, you know, when we initially planned it. You know, I'm sorry for that, but, you know, unfortunately, this is kind of what happens, you know, and everyone that's been out there, everyone that's ever had that kind of a situation in life, they'll get it. And it's not usually a big deal. A lot of places that will offer guest spots to people that will say, hey, we want you to come out and work for us for a week or a month or whatever. They're okay if things don't work out during that exact time. You know, a lot of times it's an open invitation. It's kind of like, hey, here's the invitation. Come out whenever you want. We'll be here ready to kick ass and take names, or kick ass and take naps. You know, and they're okay with that.
Jonesy says hi.
Yeah, it's perfectly reasonable for sure. You know that it's just not a good time. Hey, Jonesy. What's up, buddy?
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll understand.
I think they will. I think they're, because both of us kind of acknowledged that this was kind of a last minute up in the air possible guest spot that actually was offered to me while I was traveling, and I was in the momentum of everything is fun and everything. Now that I've gotten back home, I'm just like, oh, okay, I gotta pay rent.
Yep.
Yeah, it catches you off guard sometimes.
Yeah. Hell yeah, my dudes. Oh yeah, but I've been thinking about your hand tattoo a lot. It lives rent free in my head, Jason. Like it's weird. I think it's weird and probably creepy how often I think about just walking up to the Texas and seeing you there with like your dead phone above the thing because the battery died.
Yep.
And you're like sitting like this. And I'm just like, how's it going? And you're like, it's great. And
Yeah.
That's a sick
just like,
piece.
yeah, dude, it was so amazing. Like now I'm just like, who's gonna do my hand?
And that's a tricky part, of the body to like get it to heal,
I
well.
found that
And
out very quickly.
that looks solid, man. Like I love that like very dark background it has, like bringing it forward. Super nice, man.
Yeah, it was not fun to heal. Not at all, not in any way, shape, or form. It was definitely one of the trickiest and most difficult tattoos I've ever had to heal in my life.
Yeah, I never really asked about the healing process after we separated ways.
Oh, it was terrible. Just because of where certain parts are on like bendy parts, like here right by the nose, that was an absolute nightmare to heal. Other spots like back here were a little rough. The inside was fine. That healed up fairly quickly. The upper portion healed up fairly quickly. Even the top of my hand healed up fairly good and fairly quickly. But anywhere where you have a lot of like joints and a lot of bendy and flexy areas, those were the absolute worst to heal. Just as far as keeping them moisturized, keeping your eye on them, waking up in the morning and having like, them dry out a tiny bit on you.
So you don't want it to be too folded, right? Because then it heals with that line, that folding line. Let me ask you, did he we were talking about machines and everything today. What did he use to do those lines and get them that solid on the hand?
The whole tattoo was done using a Cheyenne Solnova Unlimited 4mm stroke. And it was solid, quick, punchy, and he just flew through everything. The tattoo itself took, I think, 4.5 hours, something like that. So, I mean, it still took a decent length of time to make sure all the color was nice and saturated and blended in. All the black and grays were nice and faded out. All the tiny little hairline cracks, like on the top of the dome, were done right. All the tiny little nooks and crannies, like at the bottoms of the teeth, making sure that those had the right highlight. So there was a bit that went into it. But all in all, once again, when I found out that he had the opening, I was more interested in just the experience and the knowledge that I was going to learn behind it. I didn't go into it with any kind of an expectation. I didn't even have an idea of what was going to be done until the morning of. Like I went into it and I said, dude, I don't care what you tattoo on me. I just want to get tattooed by you. I just want to collect a piece from you. And, here's kind of the idea or the theme that I've got going on. Come up with something. Maybe you want to do a Hanya mask. Maybe you want to do a Tengu mask or anything really. Like maybe you want to do a badass bat head. Do it. That's fine. Like whatever. Maybe you want to do like a koi fish head or something like that, or like a goldfish or something along those lines. Whatever you want to do, I was down for it. And he didn't even know what he was going to do until I think 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, the night before the tattoo.
I remember that. I kept asking him, what do you got planned in mind? He's like, I don't know.
Yeah, he kept coming over and he's like, honestly, don't know yet. I'm like, hey, not a problem. And you know what? It was one of the most awesome experiences ever. He didn't even know he was going to do waves around it. he just kind of drew those in with a pen and just went to town.
That trust paid off, you know, like the energy that came from your trust, you know, probably allowed him to be in an ideal place in his mind to like create something.
Absolutely.
Such a good piece, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a blast too. You know, just hanging out with him, talking to him the whole time about like, oh, well, what are you using on it? How are you doing it? Like, you know, what are your philosophies on certain things? You know, like, you know, what was it like for you, you know, to work at Deadly and to be surrounded by all of these awesome people? He's like, dude, it was the weirdest stuff, like coming up, knowing who went through the different studios, you know, and seeing his dad's progression from working at this place and then working at this place and then opening in his own place and going through and being like, yeah, growing up with Steve Moore, I never realized it was a big thing. He was like, to me, that was just like Uncle Steve. Like, that wasn't anything special to me. I didn't quite realize until later on what kind of an impact that person had on this industry, you know? And it was like, or like, you know, Rob Noseworthy was working right next to James. He's like, to me, that was Uncle Rob. He's like, I didn't realize what kind of an impact that person had until much later on. He's like, and looking back on it, I wouldn't trade anything in the world for the experiences that I've had. And I was like, yeah, I wouldn't either. But that's coming from someone that already had that kind of a perspective on things, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sounds like a great, amazing experience
it definitely was, for sure.
with a big bonus result, you know,
Right?
full faith, you know, no expectations, and then boom, rewarded for your trust.
Well, I mean, you know, when you think about it and you think about things like that, it ultimately it comes down to, are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to talk to the people that you need to do and do the things that you know you need to do in order to even put yourself in that kind of a situation? Right? Because if I wasn't willing to go through and get tattooed by Phibbs in Rome, way back when, you know, I would have never hit things off with him. If I never hit things off with him, I would have never gone to the London Tattoo Convention and gotten personal introductions to a lot of the people that I've met. If I had never done that, then I would have never been invited to go and work at the Puerto Rico show. Even if I had, if I, you know, didn't decide to come back and work it more than 1 year, because that first year I worked it, I think I did like 4 tattoos the whole weekend. Total loss, right? I don't even think I made enough money to cover the booth, but I didn't care, right? Because I was there and I was right down the aisle from Victor Chill, right? Like, number one, yeah, crazy intimidating. But number two, it was such a unique experience because I got to go and watch all of these guys work. I didn't even want to stay in my booth most of the time. But if I hadn't come back and worked it more than 1 year, I would have never even had the opportunity to get my hand. You know, so sometimes it's about putting yourself in the position and in the situation where you have these kinds of opportunities. And if you're not willing to do that, and if you're not willing to put yourself out there and take that kind of leap of faith, you're never going to reap that kind of a reward.
Yeah, very true.
But on that note, let's go through. We're about 20 minutes over time. So let's go through and we'll start doing some sign-offs. Medusa, you were last in. So I'm going to spotlight you for everyone. Go ahead and give us a quick sign-off.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Medusa. And you can find me at medusaslays.com or on Instagram at medusaslays with 3 S's at the end, like a snake slithering amongst the swirly things. Okay. Thanks for having me. I had a great time. And to the next guy.
Awesome.
And your
Thank you very
YouTube
much.
too. Your new YouTube
Shit.
channel.
Okay.
Go
Starting
ahead.
a YouTube.
What's it called?
Medusa Slays.
Oh,
I
okay.
wasn't ready to announce that yet.
Oh,
Ah.
what a jerk I am.
But
My
So
there's a
bad.
coming
couple of videos
soon.
coming soon. My YouTube, which is gonna be Medusa Slay, so you can get a heads up by subscribing if you want. Thank you. Okay, now
Anytime.
bye.
Bruno, over to you, bud.
It was a fun time, Jason. Thanks again, man.
Hey, as always,
Medusa,
pleasure's all
Patrick's
mine.
always awesome hanging out. And my name's Bruno Salvatierra. You can find me on Instagram on @Prismas_art. And also the studio Instagram, Prismas.tattoo studio here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Hope everyone's having a great day. Thanks again, Reinventing the Tattoo.
Thank you very much, Bruno, as always. And yeah, so thanks very much, everyone, for joining in today. My name is Jason Leeser. You can always find me on Instagram @Philly Inc. And that would be right up here. So if you're wondering how to spell it, that's how to spell it. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. As always, if you like today's show, by all means, feel free, go through, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure to hit the follow button if you're listening to the podcast. And yeah, we'll see you here next Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think this is standard time. Maybe it's daylight time. Not sure on that, but it's 1 p.m. Eastern. And you can figure out what time zone you're in. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys again next week. Until then, keep those hands moving and